The Pope prayed for peace, as did Christians in Bethlehem. And Americans joined Egyptian Americans issuing a call for liberty in Egypt on a banner flown around the Statue of Liberty. And Mubarak has been in power for nearly 30 years. He stands firm on his commitment to not run for re-election, but also has no plans of stepping down. Peter?
All right, thanks. And for some more perspective on what's happening in Egypt, we have our first live in-studio guest. Professor Hassan Ansah is the author of Life, Death, and Community in Cairo, City of the Dead. Professor Ansah, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Peter, for having me.
What's the next shoe to drop in Egypt, do you think?
The next shoe to drop in Egypt is going to be the dissolution of Mubarak and his regime. It's a matter of time, maybe the end of the week, maybe the end of the month, but Mubarak as a symbolic representation of the oppression that the Egyptian people felt or feel has to go.
So you think Mubarak will leave sooner rather than later, which opens up a big question. What happens with that power vacuum? I mean, you know that American leaders are concerned about the Muslim Brotherhood perhaps stepping in. What do you think will happen?
First of all, we have to really look at this from the perspective of the Egyptian people. And the Obama administration has to walk a tightrope here because you want to be supportive of the change that's going to happen, but at the same time, you don't want to seem to be condescending to the Egyptian people and the will of the Egyptian people. So I would say you have, let me give you best case and worst case scenarios. The National Democratic Party, which Mubarak is a part of, if you have some real shifting of and change there, then that could be the gap filler with a new representative that's moderate, maybe someone like Mohammed al-Badi. Next aspect, you have a political party that's connected more to the youth of Egypt called the Tomorrow Party, led by a man named Dr. Anwar Noor. And this party has been involved in Egyptian politics for the last 8 years. They're very good on human rights. They initiate a constitutional reform. So I think this would be a very clear and decisive political party to represent the new Egyptian democracy. But the most likely scenario in this, and it's somewhat ironic, is that I believe that the Egyptian military will come in and fill the gap for the transition into a more democratic government.
Now you say ironic because Mubarak, I mean, is part of the Egyptian military. They've been, to a lot of people, surprisingly, you know, peaceful and, you know, helpful in some ways to the protesters.
And this is implicitly a statement that they are supporting the protests and the revolution, in a sense, not in a violent way. We have to look at both Hosni Mubarak as well as the Vice President Omar Suleiman. They are a product of a different generation than the modern officers that are, younger modern officers that are in the Egyptian army. They were trained in Russia during the Cold War, so there's a very oligarchical power relationship that they have with the military and society, the old cracking down system that they believe in. This is not how the Egyptian military has expressed itself.
They learned a lot from the U.S. style. It's almost like the military took a PR class.
Exactly, Peter. Well, what happened after the Camp David Accords in 1979, there's been a huge influx of money and cultural exchange between the United States military and the Egyptian military. So not only have they admired the technical prowess of the U.S. military, but they've also admired its democratic and liberal relationship with its society. And you're seeing this in its neutrality as well as its openness and its responsibility, overall responsibility towards the Egyptian protesters.
Hassan, thanks a lot for coming in and giving your perspective once again.
Thank you.
Hassan Ansah. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
For almost 2 weeks, we've seen protesters take to the streets there in Egypt, demanding swift change in their government. And in that time, we watch peaceful protests become violent, but also demands for change lead to concessions. first large-scale protest calling for an end to President Mubarak's regime began Tuesday, January 25th, as thousands protested in Cairo. The protest continued with violent uprising through Thursday, the 27th. That's when Mubarak's ruling party announced it would open talks with opposition groups. Soon after, the government shut down internet and cell phone service in an attempt to stop protesters, however, did not prevent the Cairo headquarters of the ruling National Democratic Party from being looted and burned. The government began imposing a curfew that night, but as many ignored it, Mubarak made a late-night speech saying he'd appoint a new cabinet. The next day, Mubarak named his first-ever vice president, but still protesters continue to call for an end to his rule. After a full week of protests on February 1st, thousands gathered for the biggest rally of the week, and by that night, Mubarak announced he would step down from the presidency in September. The next day, February 2nd, protests turned violent as pro-Mubarak forces fought back against those calling for the president to resign.
Studio guest, Professor Hassan Ansah is the author of Life, Death, and Community in Cairo, City of the Dead. Professor Ansah joins us back here once again in the studio. Thank you very much for coming in again.
Thank you for having me, Peter, again.
I got to tell you, last time you were here on Sunday evening, you called it correctly. Mubarak would be out by the end of the week, and sure enough, he has stepped down.
Yes. Well, Peter, as I mentioned last week, that the major influence during this uprising, this revolution, was the Egyptian military. That was the ace card. And after Mubarak refused to step down Thursday, there was a lot of outside pressure on Egypt for him to step down, on Mubarak, and the military was the key that opened the magical door for him to go.
And you said the Egyptian military is influenced heavily by the American military because they've trained with them, they think alike in a lot of ways. So you think the American military stepped in probably and pressed the Egyptian military to get it done?
Surely, certainly. There needed to be, as I said before, during this entire demonstration period, these 18 days, the Egyptian military really showed tremendous restraint, responsibility in a wide democratic sort of vision that is needed in Egypt, and they showed leadership.
They did. It was very impressive. My question now is, with the military officially in control, and we've seen this story before in different countries, is there a risk that a general, someone very powerful within the Egyptian military, tries to do that power grab and say, you know what, I'm going to be the next dictator?
That's a really interesting question, Peter, and I would say no. There is the danger, yes, but I think it's minimized, and I'll explain why. There's a board of military generals that is right now leading the country. One person, his name is Prime Minister Tanawi. He is from the old guard. He came up through the ranks with Mubarak and Omar Solomon. However, there's also the younger generation that you mentioned earlier that has trained in the U.S., that has been influenced by the relationship with the United States government and the United States military. So they are, I think, the stronger voices at this time.
So we've got the scheduled September elections. Hopefully the transition goes smoothly until then and that the elections are peaceful. But real quick before you go, these sort of things have domino effects. Other Middle Eastern countries, do you think the revolution might be coming to them?
Most certainly. Look closely at 3 countries right now: Yemen, Jordan, and Algeria. And these are important countries to the U.S. and Israel. Number one, with Jordan's relationship with Israel. Yemen, however, which has been in the news in the past year.
Yemen's been in there plenty.
Yes.
We'll definitely be watching out for them.
Yes, and with Yemen, you have to look at the potential of Islamic fundamentalists coming to power.
All right, well, thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Really appreciate all the help you've given us over the past couple of weeks, giving some perspective to all this.
Anytime.
Professor Hassan Ansah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right.